Hello, my friends. Hello, it's Matthew Street, and welcome to my channel. As always, I appreciate you being here. And folks, this is going to be a good one. I am so excited to be making this video. Oh boy. Rachel over at Rachel's Ghost Channel just started the Beatles 2024 vinyl tag. Yes, folks, I am so excited. This is right in my wheelhouse. This is right up my alley. This is just what I needed. Okay? Now, I love tags, vinyl tags, contests, threads that people put out there. And for a long time when I first joined YouTube, I used to jump on a lot of them. But it got to be overwhelming after a while, trying to maintain your own channel, put out your own content, and then jumping on everybody's tags, threads, and contests and things like that. It got to be a little bit too much because there's so many cool channels I subscribe to, and so you get hit from all directions doing that. So I've kind of backed off doing threads and tags and things like that. But boy, you don't see too many cool Beatles tags out there like this, I'll tell you right now. So unless I'm missing them, Rachel, yeah, you did it for me. You got me going here. I'm jumping in on another tag, and it's a Beatles tag. I can't wait. So anyway, folks, let's get right into it. She has 10 questions, and please, I'm going to put the link to her original video below. Click on it. Even if you don't have a channel, answer the questions. Show some support for her channel and Rachel, and put your answers either over at her video original, or you can put them in my comments here. But I'd love to hear. I always love to learn about other people and what they think of the Beatles and how they would answer questions like this. Especially you people out there that do have channels, but you do not produce a lot of Beatles content. I'd love to see you do a video answering these questions, because it would be so cool to hear your thoughts and learn about your thoughts about the Beatles, a band I've loved since 1964 when I was just 3, 4 years old, okay? So let's go. I'm just so excited for this. Thank you, Rachel. Question number 1, which Beatles album do you own the most copies of? That's pretty easy for me, folks. It goes way, way, way back. Where's my way back machine, okay? I have a little brown paper bag here. And inside is my original copy of Meet the Beatles. It's very old, 60 years. See, old Beatles records. Yeah, Meet the Beatles. I happen to have my original copy, and I don't mind handling it like this because it's scratched, it's gouged. You'd never play this thing. The cardboard cover is long gone, but this is it. This is the original one when I lived in that little second floor apartment in Providence, Rhode Island with my young parents back in 1964. This was the copy of Meet the Beatles they bought for me. And it survived through the decades, and here it is. So I've kept it all these years, even though the cover was long gone. Once I started collecting Beatles, I said, I'm hanging on to that. And I did. All right, now I have tons of them. I'm not going to pull out vinyl and stuff. We'll be here all night, and you'll be sick of me if you're not already. So I'm going to just tell you that I have a ton of them. I have an original mono pressing that's a little bit beat up, but it had an original sleeve inside on the Rainbow Swirl. I have that. I also have another. I have a stereo pressing, but it has the gold label on it, gold record label on it, which is a weird one to me because I'll show you this one real quick. I don't know if this was a Frankenstein version or what. Maybe someone can help me, because it has that gold record seal on it, and yet it's on a Rainbow Swirl. So go figure. I don't know. Was there an overlap period where some of the covers were getting the gold seal, gold record seal in stereo, and still on the Rainbow Swirl? I don't know. I don't know what I have there, but I didn't pay a lot for it, so that's probably why I grabbed it. This one I really love because this is a mint copy stereo. Is this the one I have? Yeah, no, not in the shrink. This is a mint copy stereo with the gold seal on it. And I believe this is my Apple label one that I got when I was a kid, like 12 or 13 years old. When the Apple labels were on these, this is my Apple label one. Yeah, that's what that one is. All right, here is the rare, bizarre one I have. And I believe, is this the one that's still in the shrink? No. But this is an original mono copy, like in minty condition. And I think I got this because my original from my parents was so beat up and scratched and no more cover. I said I want to replace it with one exactly like the one they got me. And that's why I bought this minty mono original pressing on the Rainbow Swirl. And I also have a Japanese flag series version of Meet the Beatles. So again, I have a lot of Meet the Beatles, folks. And I don't want to belabor the point because I do have more. I have like a dark purple Capitol label, which came out in the later 70s or early 80s, I believe. I have a lime green, lime Target Capitol version of Meet the Beatles. I also have the orange label, Meet the Beatles. Like I said, I didn't take them all out, but I can assure you, Meet the Beatles is my top album by the Beatles I have the most copies of. I have the cassette. I have the CD version that came out in this Capitol box, but I don't like the mix on this because this is the 209 mixes thrown together. The one I do like on CD is this box because these are the original US mixes on CD. This is the box to get. Okay, so I have that. I have 2 CDs. I also have a beat-up 8-track of it, as you can see. Don't have reel-to-reel, unless somebody wants to send it to me. So Meet the Beatles is by far the one. And I even have one written all over by a fan. I got it at a flea market for 50 cents. Original 1964 version, but a fan wrote wonderful messages all over it. And I wonder if this is Rachel's, because Rachel loves John Lennon. It's her favorite Beatle. And this person sure loved John Lennon, as you can see, because they wrote his name all over the back cover. All right, so I don't know. Could be. Anyway, that's question 1. That's the one that takes the longest to answer. Rest should go pretty quick, I hope. All right, question 2, show a bootleg. Well, I have many bootlegs. Ooh, let's not use that terrible derogatory word. Fan club only issues, releases, okay? I have plenty of fan club only releases, but I'm going to go back to my original fan club only release bootleg that I got way back when I was 12 or 13 in the mid 70s. And back then they weren't fancy looking. There were no frills, but I was so excited when I saw the mail order catalog or ad in a magazine, whatever, it said Rare Beatles. And you had all these choices. And one of them was Complete Live at the Hollywood Bowl from 1964. This is years before the Hollywood Bowl album came out in 77. So I was all over this. To get a complete live Beatles album was like a grail, like Christmas to me. Christmas 10 times over. So back then, though, they weren't fancy. Plain white inner sleeve, plain white labels, and basically a plain white cover. The only thing that identifying what it is was this thing, a yellow mimeographed piece of paper. And there you go. With the set list on it for like the 12 songs at the Hollywood Bowl in 1964. That's what you got for only a couple of bucks, folks. First bootleg right there. And that's the bootleg I decided to show for question number 2. Question number 3, the last Beatles album you bought. That's pretty easy because it was only a month or so ago. I bought the big giant set, vinyl set of the red and blue albums remixed, redone. There it is. We love it. You love it. I love it. That's the last Beatles album I bought. Number 4, a solo LP from your favorite Beatle. Well, my favorite Beatle changes all the time. I have to be honest. It can change year to year, decade to decade, whatever. I've loved John at some points, and I jump over to Paul. Then I'm into Ringo, even in the early to mid-70s. I was into Ringo. He was my favorite for a while. George has been my favorite several times over the years. But lately, in early 2024, it's been Paul McCartney. So the Paul McCartney album I thought I would show from my favorite Beatle currently is Memory Almost Full, a sealed U.S. pressing. All right? And I love having this. This is one of the final vinyl versions of Paul's albums. I've been collecting all his vinyl for most of my life, but this one was really tough to get, and I was finally able to get it a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to have it. And I love this album. A lot of people say it's too loud, it's too this, it's too that. I love Memory Almost Full, one of my favorite later period Paul McCartney albums. Number 5, a non-UK or US Beatles album. Well, I showed you the Japanese flag Meet the Beatles not too long ago, but I'm going to go with something different. I'm going to go with a French, from France, A Hard Day's Night, the French version. There's the set list, track list, whatever. I love the cover. I love the whole vibe of this thing. Different imagery, different colors, green with the red and the black. Looks cool. And it's called Four Garçons dans l'Event. Chansons du film, Les Beatles. Les Beatles. I love it. French version, and it's just fabulous. I'm happy to have it. Okay. Number 6, show a Beatles single or a Beatles EP. I'm going to go with an EP because I love this image. You don't see it too often on an official, you certainly don't see it on the cover of an official Beatles album. You might see alternate versions of it, but I've always loved this image of the Beatles. And this is on their Beatles for Sale number 2 EP. Love that image of them. I just think it's cool. Oops. Here's the back. Take a gander at that if you'd like. And it is on the Parlophone label. And I've been collecting the Beatle EPs for a long time. I'm not even sure if I have them all. I might. Maybe in like a later release box set or something. But there it is on the Parlophone label. Love it. Love it. That's the EP I decided to show you. Number 7. Take an album where all the covers are Beatles songs, meaning another artist that covers the Beatles on the entire album. So, I'm going to go with one that I love. It's one of the original artists that covered the Beatles because they were right on the Capitol Records label. So they had full authorization to cover Beatles songs. And it is one of the most, I love they have a series of Beatles albums where they cover different Beatles from different periods of the Beatles. But I'm going to show this one because it's my favorite cover, and it's by the Holly Ridge Strings, arranged and conducted by Stu Phillips. This is the songbook number 2, the Beatles songbook. I've always loved the cover of this album. It's on Capitol. It's on the Rainbow Swirl and all that good stuff. And I've just always loved these albums. If you don't have these albums, get them, folks. There's a whole series of like 4 or 5 of them or so, I think. This is volume 2. But they are so well done. Again, Rainbow Swirl. And they're just so relaxing to me. They're relaxing. They make you feel good. You can just kick back and chill with these Holly Ridge Strings Beatles albums. It's just, they're so well done. And there's so many artists that have covered the Beatles and other orchestras that have covered the Beatles, but this is one of the first, and I love it, and I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Holly Ridge Strings. So that was the album of Beatles covers I decided to show, number 7. Okay, number 8. Show an album or whatever, or a song where a Beatle was the guest star on another artist song or album. So I'm going to choose, there's so many you could pick from, but I'm going to pick one I think is going to be kind of unique, and not a lot of people will show this one. I don't have it on vinyl. I don't even know if it's on vinyl. But it's Belinda Carlisle, who was the lead singer of the Go-Go's, put out some great solo albums and songs over the years of her career. And in 1989, she put out a solo album called Runaway Horses. I adore this album so much. I even got the deluxe version with an extra stuff on it, tracks and a book and all this cool stuff. It's just a great album by Belinda. But the coolest thing is George Harrison plays guest guitar on 2 of the tracks on this album. And they are absolutely fantastic. They're 2 of my favorite tracks on this album. One is called Leave a Light On, and the other one's called Deep Something or something like that. It's too dark in here for me to read these small print here. But George is the guest guitarist on 2 of these songs, and he does a fantastic job. His solo on Leave the Light On will absolutely blow your mind. It's so good. It's so emotional and so good. Typical George. You'll love it. So that is my album, Runaway Horses by Belinda Carlisle, where a Beatle is a guest player or singer on it. And in this case, George Harrison. Love it. Get it. Check it out. You won't be sorry. Number 9, a non-Beatles LP item. All right, I just grabbed something quick. Speaking of George Harrison, a few years ago, Mrs. Street bought me a beautiful set. I think they're 1/6 scale of the Beatles' early instruments. Here is the Gretsch Country Gentleman, which George Harrison would have played on Ed Sullivan and many concerts and appearances. It is so detailed, folks. You can't even believe it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful gift from Mrs. Street. I have all the Beatles instruments done this way, but I decided to show you this one. George's Country Gentleman 1/6 replica guitar. Non-Beatles LP item, number 9. Number 10, your favorite Giles Martin remix out of all the remixes. Well, I love most of them for the most part. Revolver's a great one. I even like the Let It Be one. The weakest ones might be Abbey Road, maybe. White Album I kind of like. I think that's pretty good. I'll say Abbey Road's maybe my least favorite. But I'm going to go with the original as being my favorite because it blew everybody away back in 2017, and you just can't beat it. The Sgt. Pepper remix, the original of the remixes, 2017 is my favorite. I love it. It was the one that just blew my mind, knocked my socks off, although the others have their positive points and things about them I love as well. But this is the favorite, the original one from 2017. And the bonus question is, name some of your favorite Beatles channels out there. Well, there's so many big ones and so many ones that people will go to right away. I'm going to go to a couple of uncommon ones and give them a heads up and perhaps put the link to their channels also in the narrative with Rachel's original video. One is Beatly Tone's Beatles channel. Tony is the host. He's from the UK. He's got a nice way about him, a nice personality. He also has a great sense of humor. He talks about a lot of cool stuff. He comes up with a lot of scoops and things that he's like one of the first people to tell you about. And he does it in such a great manner, a very humble person. I love Tony. So Beatly Tone's Beatles channel. And last but not least, another one is Beatle Dustino. Beatle Dustino, he's from the United States, I believe. He could be Canadian, I'm not sure. But he's from the North America, okay? Beatle Dustino, great guy, very personable, very gregarious, friendly, has a sense of humor, has a wonderful laugh, and he just brings forth his Beatles love and knowledge, and he does it in such a positive way. So I want to give some love to Beatle Dustino and Beatly Tone's Beatles channel. Well, there you have it, folks. 17 minutes later. I'm sorry, but I just had so much fun with this. The Beatles, the Beatles, the Beatles. Come on, jump on board. Thanks to Rachel for starting this nice Beatles Vinyl Tag 2024. Yeah! Love you all. Bye-bye.